Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. You know how much we love to pick apart a single piece of media and really dissect it.
Yeah, like we try to see how it fits into the bigger picture, like with information and misinformation, especially when it comes to international affairs.
Right, and today's source is a video titled download.mp4.
Oh, wow, that's pretty intriguing.
I know, right? But as always, we're going to uncover all the good stuff like media manipulation tactics and how it relates to international relations.
Maybe we'll even learn a thing or two about how to stay informed in this crazy world.
Exactly. So the speaker in this video wastes no time and jumps right in with some Italian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he says, ragazzi, ma che ci combinano, ma che ci combinano. Any idea what that means?
Let me see. Guys, what are they doing to us? What are they doing to us? Something like that.
You got it. And it really sets the tone for the whole video,
Hmm.
Like something's not right and we need to pay attention.
Definitely a sense of urgency there.
For sure. And what he's so fired up about is how the mainstream media is portraying a supposed phone call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Interesting.
Yeah. So according to this speaker, the media is claiming that Trump told Putin to hold back on escalating the conflict in Ukraine.
Like promising that he would handle it personally once he's back in office.
Exactly. It's like they're painting Trump as some kind of savior figure.
Interesting take.
So is he saying it's all a fabrication?
Pretty much, yeah. He even uses the word fuffa, which is Italian slang for nonsense, to describe the whole thing.
Wow. So he's not holding back.
Nope. And he even calls the mainstream media ente un pochettino avvelenato, which means a little bit poisoned.
So he's really trying to discredit traditional news sources.
Absolutely. He wants viewers to be skeptical of what they're hearing from the usual places.
So right off the bat, he's planting seeds of doubt.
Right. And to further his point, he mentions that there's been no official confirmation of this phone call from either Trump or Putin's press offices. Which brings up a really important question for all of us. How do we verify information in this day and age?
Especially with instant news and social media, it's like information overload.
Exactly. So this speaker is really urging us to be critical consumers of media, especially when it comes to sensitive topics like international conflicts.
Like, don't believe everything you read kind of thing.
Exactly.
But then he kind of throws us a curveball. He acknowledges that other world leaders have congratulated Trump.
Oh, so he's not saying that a conversation between Trump and Putin is impossible.
Right, just that the specific details about Ukraine are made up.
Ah, so he's walking that fine line between skepticism and plausibility.
He is. And then to make things even more interesting, he brings up the complexities of the conflict in Ukraine.
Oh, so?
Well, he points out that Russia is both an invader and invaded.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. It's not as simple as good guy versus bad guy.
Not at all. And then he gets really cynical when he mentions how Russia's destroying incoming weapons.
But not the humanitarian aid in Odessa.
Right, like he's implying that even the aid efforts are being manipulated.
Wow, he's really painting a picture of widespread manipulation.
He is. So by this point, he's convinced us that things aren't always as they seem. But the big question is why? Why would the media fabricate this story about Trump and Putin?
Why indeed?
Well, he suggests that it could be a way to portray Trump as an active leader who's already working to fulfill his campaign promises.
Ah, I see. So they're trying to make him look good.
Right. And remember, Trump didn't actually promise immediate action on Ukraine during his campaign.
He pledged to address it once in office.
Exactly. But this narrative makes it seem like he's already pulling strings behind the scenes.
It's a subtle but powerful way to shape public perception.
And to further illustrate his point, he brings up Trump's previous statement about Crimea being already lost by Ukraine.
In the ongoing situation in Odessa.
Right. He's showing how easy it is to cherry-pick information and spin it to fit a certain agenda.
It's like a crash course in media literacy.
And then just when you think he's laid out all his cards, he pulls out what he claims is a clip from an official Trump administration press agency.
Oh, this is where it gets juicy.
I know, right? We're about to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Let's see if this clip backs up his claims.
All right, here we go. Okay, so here's that clip from what the speaker claims is an official Trump administration press agency.
All right, let's hear it.
Here we go. Video clip audio begins.
Donald Trump. Vladimir Putin congratulated Trump late last week and said he was willing to talk. Donald Trump said they may talk. I mean, he needs to tread a little bit carefully there. But it's possible they do actually speak before Donald Trump's inauguration. Of course, he's already spoken with the Ukrainian president since his election win and a number of other leaders around the world. The question is there an incentive for both of them to talk before Donald Trump takes office? Certainly there may be. There seems to be a sense that Vladimir Putin's willing to hear what Donald Trump has to say about the situation in Ukraine and the possibility of getting towards talks in that conflict. And would that be advantageous to Vladimir Putin? Quite possibly. So certainly the door is open, but for now at least, the Kremlin says that conversation hasn't happened. Video clip audio ends.
So she's basically confirming that Putin congratulated Trump.
Yeah, and that a conversation between them is possible but not confirmed.
And no mention of a specific call about Ukraine?
Right. It's like he's trying to debunk the media narrative, but then he shows us a clip that actually supports the idea that there's no concrete evidence of this phone call happening.
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
Like maybe he's trying to create this us versus them mentality.
Yeah, like he and his viewers are the only ones who see through the media's lies.
Even when the evidence doesn't quite add up.
Exactly.
And then he goes on to say that this lack of evidence proves that the story was fabricated by mainstream media to discredit Trump.
So he's saying they're trying to make Trump look bad.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
He's implying that if the story turns out to be false, it would damage Trump's credibility on the world stage.
It's a bold strategy.
It is. He's basically planting the seed of doubt early on so that even contradictory evidence can be seen as proof of a conspiracy.
Clever, but also a bit manipulative, don't you think?
Definitely. And of course, he ends with a call to action.
What does he say?
He urges viewers to think critically, do their own research, and not believe everything they hear.
Well, that's good advice, right?
On the surface, yeah, but he's already presented a very specific interpretation of events.
So it's like he's saying, think for yourself, but also think like me.
Exactly. And then he gets even more specific with his recommendations. He mentions using the search engine, Widget, and ChatGPT.
Widget. What's that?
I'm not familiar with that one either, but ChatGPT is that AI chatbot that can generate human quality text.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
He seems to be advocating for alternative sources of information.
Which is fine, but even those sources need to be evaluated critically.
Exactly. AI tools like ChatGPT are trained on massive data sets of text and code so they can reflect the biases present in that data.
It's not a magic bullet for finding the truth.
It's just another tool that needs to be used carefully and thoughtfully.
So his main point is that we need to be active participants in the information gathering process.
Not just passive consumers.
Right, we need to cross-reference information, consider different perspectives, and ultimately form our own informed conclusions.
So it's not just about what we read, it's about how we read it.
And that applies to everything, not just international affairs.
Whether we're researching a political candidate, evaluating a new product, or just trying to understand a complex issue, critical thinking is essential.
It's about taking ownership of our own understanding of the world.
Exactly.
And that's a powerful message, especially in a world where it's so easy to be swept away by the tide of prevailing narratives.
This whole video has been a fascinating case study in how information can be manipulated and how important it is to be aware of those techniques.
And to be aware of our own biases.
Absolutely. He's not just presenting information, he's modeling a way of thinking.
He's showing us how to be skeptical, how to ask questions, and how to form our own opinions.
And in a world where information is increasingly weaponized, those skills are more valuable than ever. It's kind of wild, right? Like he's encouraging us to think for ourselves, but then he's also presenting a very specific, potentially biased viewpoint.
It's like a paradox.
Yeah, it really highlights the challenge of navigating the information landscape these days.
Everyone has an agenda.
Even those who claim to be neutral.
Exactly. So it's tough to know who to trust.
Well, he does offer some practical advice.
Like what?
He encourages viewers to explore a variety of resources, not just mainstream news outlets.
That makes sense.
He even mentions alternative media academic journals.
And of course, Widget and ChatGPT.
Right. He's basically saying don't just stay in your echo chamber.
Get out there and challenge your own assumptions.
Exactly. Which brings us to his final message. Faites-vous les vostres recherches.
Do your own research.
Yep. A simple but powerful call to action.
He's reminding us that we're responsible for our own understanding of the world.
And that's a message that resonates far beyond this particular video.
Whether we're talking about international affairs, domestic politics, or even just everyday decisions, critical thinking is essential.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into download.mp4, we want to leave you with this thought.
What's that?
This video is a perfect example of how information can be manipulated and how important it is to be media literate.
And to be aware of our own biases.
Exactly, because the way we interpret information is just as important as the information itself.
It's a lifelong journey of learning, questioning, and evolving.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap for today, folks. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive and maybe even learned a thing or two.
Stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep diving deep.
We'll see you next time.